A homeless boy saved the dying woman unaware she's a billionaire. What she did next shocked everyone. Watch this story and tell me what you learned. The rain came down like grief, heavy, relentless, uninvited. 16-year-old Daniel stood beneath the faded concrete arch of the marina bridge, hugging himself. His clothes were soaked through, clinging to his thin frame like regret. Beside him lay an old, colorless backpack, his only possession in the world. Inside it were a torn Bible, a cracked Nokia phone with no SIM card, and a sachet of gari he was saving for tomorrow. He watched the city blur behind the downpour. Lagos didn't stop for the rain, or for boys like him. Cars kept moving, people rushed past with umbrellas, their eyes fixed forward. Nobody looked down. Nobody ever looked down. Daniel was used to that. It wasn't always like this. He once had a home, a mother with soft eyes, a father who called him champ. But poverty ate them slowly. When sickness came for his mother, she didn't fight. She whispered his name one last time and left him in a world that didn't care. He ran, from the orphanage, from pity, from everything. Now he was just another shadow under Lagos' belly. But tonight felt different. As he adjusted his sack for the night, he heard something, a groan, barely audible beneath the storm's growl. He squinted into the darkness. There, across the road near the gutter, a figure, a woman, collapsed, motionless. For a moment, Daniel hesitated. It wasn't his business. The city was full of mad people, drunkards, tricksters. But then he saw her hand twitch, weak, pleading. And something inside him moved. Without thinking, he dashed into the rain, his slippers slapping against the flooded asphalt. Horns blared, water splashed. Still, he kept going. When he reached her, he knelt. Her skin was ice. Her dress clung to her like a drowning curtain. Her lips were turning blue. Can you hear me?" No response, just shallow, ragged breaths. He looked around. No one stopped. No one cared. Daniel lifted her. She was heavier than she looked. He staggered toward the roadside. Rain blinded him. His heart pounded. He didn't know her name. He didn't know who she was. All he knew was that she was dying, and he had to save her. At the junction, he spotted a battered yellow taxi, parked and steaming. He ran up to the driver. "Please, sir, she needs help. Hospital." The man eyed them warily. "You get money?" Daniel dug into his pocket. $500, all he had. "This is all I've got. Please, I'll owe you." The driver stared at him for a second, then sighed. "Enter." They drove in silence. The woman's head rested on Daniel's shoulder, her breath barely there. He held her hand, whispering, "Don't die, please, not tonight." At the nearest private clinic, Daniel begged the nurse to admit her. "She needs urgent care," he pleaded. "Where's her ID? Her family? Money?" "I don't know her name," he whispered. "I just found her." The nurse was about to wave him off, but then she paused. Something in his eyes, something raw, honest. She relented. "Fine, bring her in. But if anything goes wrong, we'll hold you responsible." Daniel nodded. He didn't care. Let them blame him, beat him, arrest him. Just let her live. At the junction, he spotted a battered yellow taxi, parked and steaming. He ran up to the driver. "Please, sir, she needs help. Hospital." The man eyed them warily. "You get money?" Daniel dug into his pocket. $500, all he had. "This is all I've got. Please, I'll owe you." The driver stared at him for a second, then sighed. "Answer." They drove in silence. The woman's head rested on Daniel's shoulder, her breath barely there. He held her hand, whispering, "Don't die, please, not tonight." At the nearest private clinic, Daniel begged the nurse to admit her. "She needs urgent care," he pleaded. "Where's her ID? Her family? Money?" "I don't know her name," he whispered. I just found her." The nurse was about to wave him off, but then she paused. Something in his eyes, something raw, honest. She relented. "Fine, bring her in. But if anything goes wrong, we'll hold you responsible." Daniel nodded. He didn't care. Let them blame him, beat him, arrest him. Just let her live. Hours passed. He waited on a bench, soaked, shivering, staring at the clinic door like it held the meaning of life. At 3:12 a.m., the doctor emerged. "She's stable. You got her here just in time." Daniel exhaled. His eyes stung, but not from the rain. The woman didn't wake that night, but Daniel stayed. Curled up outside her room with his backpack as a pillow, guarding a stranger like she was family. He didn't know he had just saved Victoria Harris, one of the most powerful women in Nigeria. All he knew was that someone had needed help, and he had chosen to care, even when the world had never done the same for him. When Victoria Harris opened her eyes, the hospital room was quiet. White walls, a drip stand, the beeping of machines that reminded her she was still alive. For a moment, she thought it was one of her nightmares, the one she had been having since her husband died. But then she saw the face. A boy, curled on a bench by the door. His head rested on a dirty backpack. His shirt was soaked and stained with rainwater and street dust. He looked like he hadn't eaten in days, and he was fast asleep. Her throat ached when she spoke. "Who is that?" The nurse, adjusting the drip, smiled gently. "That boy brought you in last night, carried you through the rain and begged us to save you, sat here all night." Victoria blinked. Her chest rose slowly. "A boy?" "Yes. He found you unconscious by the road, paid the taxi fare with all he had, didn't even know your name." Victoria stared at him. His face was soft and sleep, young, weathered, but kind. He looked like her son would have, if she ever had one. She wanted to speak, but her voice failed. So instead, she turned away. Tears slipped quietly down her cheek, not from pain, but from something far deeper, something she hadn't felt in a long time, something like gratitude. When Daniel finally woke, the sun had risen high. He sat up with a start, then noticed the nurse waving him in. "She's awake, you can go in." His heart raced as he stepped into the room. She was sitting up now, her back propped with pillows. Her hair was neatly packed, her eyes calm but watchful. She didn't look like someone who had almost died. She looked like someone important. "Good morning, Ma," Daniel said quietly. "Good morning," she replied, her voice firm but warm. "What's your name?" "Daniel." She studied him for a moment. "How old are you?" 16. "You're homeless?" He nodded. "Yes, Ma. I sleep under the bridge at Marina." Silence fell. She looked at his feet. His slippers were torn. One of his toes had a fresh cut. Still, he stood tall, polite, humble, no begging, no pity in his eyes. "You saved my life, Daniel," she said. "I only did what I could." "No one else did," she said slowly. "Do you know who I am?" Daniel shook his head. "My name is Victoria Harris." The name meant nothing to him. He just blinked. She gave a faint smile. "I suppose the street doesn't care much for billionaires." He smiled faintly too. "No, Ma." That moment stretched between them. A boy with nothing, a woman with everything. But for once, they stood on equal ground. "I want to help you," she said. "Not out of pity, but because what you did, very few would." Daniel looked down at his fingers. "You don't have to, Ma. I didn't help you, Ma." "I know," she said. "That's why I must." By evening she was discharged. Her driver arrived in a black SUV. The doctor brought out a wheelchair, but she waved it away. She walked out slowly, leaning on Daniel's arm. The hospital staff watched in disbelief. No one could understand why Victoria Harris, the woman who never allowed anyone to touch her without gloves, was now holding a homeless boy like he was her own blood. Outside, the sun cast gold on the wet pavement. Victoria turned to him. "Come with me." Daniel froze. "To where?" "Home." He hesitated. "My home," she said, "is yours now, if you'll have it." In that moment, something cracked open in his chest, a flood of warmth, of fear, of hope. He nodded. And as the gates of her mansion opened for the first time to someone from the gutters, neither of them knew that life was about to change forever, for better, and eventually, for worse. Daniel lived a life he had only seen in dreams. Clean sheets, hot meals, tutors who called him sir, clothes with tags still on them. He walked marble floors, soaked in warm baths, and ate at a table long enough to seat 30. At first, he used to sneak into the kitchen at night, unsure if the food would still be there in the morning. But slowly, his body stopped flinching. His eyes stopped searching the corners for rats. Victoria watched it all from the top floor window, silently, like a mother bird who had found a stray chick. She never said much, never touched him again, but her presence lingered in every corner. Her quiet approval filled the halls. One morning, Daniel found a room locked at the far end of the hallway. It was the only room she never let anyone near. The handle was rusted. The door looked like it hadn't been touched in years. "What's in there?" he asked one evening at dinner. Victoria paused mid-sip. Her hand trembled, just slightly. "Memories," she said. He never asked again. But the room never left his mind. That same week, she fell sick again. This time, she did not collapse. She simply sat in her armchair for hours, staring out the window. She stopped eating. Her voice thinned. Her eyes dulled. Doctors came and left. Nobody knew what was wrong. Daniel stayed by her side, every day, reading books, telling stories, praying silently in his head. One afternoon, she reached for his hand and whispered something. "Promise me," she said, "you won't open that room." He nodded. She smiled, then closed her eyes, and never opened them again. Victoria Harris was buried on a rainy Tuesday. Men in black suits filled the lawn. Cameras flashed. Her death hit the news by noon. Billionaire philanthropist passes quietly in her home. No family left behind. No children, just a boy. The will was read 2 days later. She left everything to Daniel. The estate, the accounts, the shares, her name, everything. People talked, lawyers questioned, old friends stared. But the papers were real. Her signature was clear. Witnesses confirmed it. She had written it 3 weeks before she died. Just like that, Daniel became the richest 16-year-old in Nigeria. He never cried at the funeral, but on the night the lawyers handed him the keys, he locked himself in his room and wept for hours. He didn't want money. He just wanted her back. Weeks passed. The mansion grew colder. The silence too heavy. The air too clean. He moved from room to room, trying to feel something, anything. Until one night, the locked door at the end of the hall called to him again. He stood before it, key in hand. The key had been buried deep in her wardrobe, hidden in a small box. His heart raced. He opened it. Dust flew. The smell of age and pain poured out. Inside, the room was simple. A small crib, a rocking chair, framed pictures of a little boy with dimples and curly hair. A tiny pair of shoes sat on a glass shelf, untouched. A death certificate on the table. David Harris. Died at age 6. Son of Victoria and Michael Harris. Daniel stepped back. His hand shook. He turned to leave, but stopped. There was a mirror behind the door, and taped to it was a photo. A small, old photo of a baby, wrapped in a hospital blanket. On the back, written in blue ink, was a date. His birthday. Daniel stared. The same face. His face. Blood rushed to his ears. He stumbled out of the room. His breath caught in his throat. She knew. She had known all along. Victoria had left him years ago, abandoned him, or hidden him, or maybe she had never truly let him go. And she never told him. The truth felt like fire in his chest, heavy, dark. He sat on the floor, hugged his knees. Then something cracked. Not in the air, inside him. The next morning, Daniel was found in the pool, fully dressed, eyes wide open, the water calm around him. A single letter rested on the dining table. No one could read it. It had been soaked in tears, and ink, and silence, forever.